I already have 2 sons, and you're not one of them, Brad shouted, his voice echoing with anger. Just go away and don't ever come back. I don't want to talk to you. We have nothing to discuss. But you're my biological father, Tom said, his gaze still hopeful, as if he believed there had been a misunderstanding. I really want to reconnect. You and your mother made your choice years ago. Brad snapped, his frustration mounting. Now just leave. I don't want to have any contact with you. He slammed the door shut, exhaling sharply, his heart heavy with pain. At 20, Brad hadn't considered the ramifications of his actions. When his girlfriend, Sophie, revealed her pregnancy, he panicked. He felt he had no choice but to marry her, even though they had never planned for a future together. Sophie was simply a beautiful and convenient girlfriend. They skipped a grand wedding and just signed the papers at the registry office. Eventually, their firstborn son, Tom, arrived, an unexpected joy for both of them. To his surprise, Brad became a dedicated father. He loved spending time with Tom, taking him to clubs and activities, and they bonded over their shared love for hockey. Their relationship was a shining example of a strong father-son connection, making the impending divorce all the more difficult for Brad to accept. Sophie brought up the divorce casually one morning over coffee. Brad, she said, lost in thought, let's get a divorce. We've been living like roommates for a while now. You can see Tom whenever you want. Why ruin our family? Brad exclaimed, confusion mixing with anger. I want to stay with you. But I don't want to be with you, she shot back. Honestly, I can't stand the sight of you right now. Long enough for you to pretend well, he retorted, frustration boiling over. I grew up without a father, and I don't want that for Tom. Despite the emotional turmoil, they divorced amicably, as much as the circumstances allowed. 9-year-old Tom spent weekends with his dad, while Sophie took care of him during the week. Money was tight after alimony and rent, but Brad relished their hiking trips, fishing excursions, and football games at the dacha. For a couple of years, this routine continued. But then Tom began visiting less frequently. When Brad called, his son would make excuses, and Sophie refused to intervene. Through her sister, Brad learned that Sophie had found a new partner, a wealthy man who showered Tom with expensive gifts. They traveled to the seaside for vacations and spent holidays abroad. Against such lavish experiences, Brad's humble outings simply couldn't compete. In the course of a year, Brad saw Tom only a couple of times. Each interaction felt strained, with Tom increasingly reluctant to engage. Eventually, he stopped answering calls altogether, responding only with brief messages. This silence weighed heavily on Brad. Determined to establish a regular visitation schedule, Brad took his case to court. However, his ex-wife responded with a confrontation. One evening, she approached him, stepping out of an expensive car after work. Why are you stalking your son like he's a criminal? Why can't you leave us alone? Tom just doesn't want to talk to you anymore, Sophie explained, her tone defensive. Give him some space, don't pressure him. Yes, I pay child support, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't see my son, Brad shot back. You and your new partner seem to be doing just fine. Not just a partner, but a husband, Sophie corrected him. We've already signed the papers, and that's why I wanted to talk to you. I'm actually glad you filed that lawsuit because John wants to adopt Tom. How can this be? Tom already has a father, Brad said, bewildered. What are you trying to do? You don't understand, Sophie sighed. John can give our son everything you can't. Financial stability, opportunities. They get along wonderfully, and honestly, if I were in your position, I'd be grateful that Tom is loved and well cared for. Do you think this is normal? Brad replied, his voice rising in indignation. What does Tom think about all this? Has anyone even talked to him? Yes, he wants John to adopt him, Sophie stated matter-of-factly. If you don't believe me, I can set up a meeting. But it's clear who Tom has chosen. You two hardly see each other anymore. I'm not stopping those meetings. Fine, I want to talk to him, Brad shot back, his anger boiling over. I'm very interested to hear Tom's side of things. It took nearly a month for the meeting to be arranged. When the day finally came, they agreed to meet at a cafe near Tom's school. However, Tom didn't arrive alone. He was accompanied by a tall man in a suit who introduced himself as John. John said he would wait for Tom in the car and then left. Brad stared at his son, surprised at how much he had changed in just a year. Tom had grown taller and more muscular, clearly thriving in hockey. He now stood at Brad's chin and looked decidedly unimpressed. What do you want? Tom asked with irritation. I have practice soon and don't have time to waste. Let's make this quick. I thought we could sit and chat like we used to, Brad replied, trying to keep his tone light. What do you want to order? I'm not having anything, Tom muttered, rolling his eyes. What's there to discuss? I thought I made it clear that I don't want to talk. Your mother wants me to give up my parental rights so John can adopt you. Is that what you want too? Brad asked, his voice steady. Yes, that's my decision as well, Tom replied curtly. Just do it quickly. John will take care of it. I need to go to a sports school abroad, and I can't have a loser father holding me back. Brad felt a wave of shock wash over him. He had never anticipated this from his 12-year-old son. You realize that means we won't be family anymore? You'll have a different last name and patronymic. The connection to my family, our family, will be gone, he said, his heart sinking. Tom nodded impatiently, clearly eager to end the conversation. Yeah, whatever. Just let my mom call me and tell me what I need to do. The following months passed in a blur for Brad. He went to the notary and court as instructed, following orders like a robot, numb to his emotions. Then, one day, the gravity of it all hit him. It took Brad a long time to regain his footing. Initially, he mourned the dreams that never came to be, and then he suffered a nervous breakdown that landed him in the hospital. After a period of treatment, he slowly began to piece his life back together. He changed jobs, relocated to a new city, and there he met Lena. Lena already had an 11-year-old son named Sam, a cool kid who bore a striking resemblance to Tom. At first, they simply cohabited, but Sam's initial resistance soon faded. The boy fully accepted Brad, and eventually, Brad married Lena. When Sam turned 16, he asked Brad to adopt him. Having little memory of his biological father, who had abandoned the family years ago, Sam was eager for this new beginning. Brad embraced the opportunity, realizing that Lena and Sam had given his life renewed purpose. Brad preferred to avoid discussions about his past, but Lena understood the general outlines of his story and empathized with him. She recognized how painful those memories were for her beloved husband. By this time, Lena and Brad had welcomed a son of their own, Alex, and the family thrived together. When Sam announced his desire to join the Navy, they wholeheartedly supported him. During the naval school admission ceremony, Brad felt immense pride in his eldest son. Professionally, Brad's career flourished as well. He worked as a sales manager at a prestigious car dealership, earning a comfortable salary, and they enjoyed life in a beautiful, spacious apartment. Yet, every now and then, Brad found himself haunted by the harsh words of his ex-wife, who had claimed he could offer nothing to their son. Those memories left him feeling wounded and bitter. Each year on Tom's birthday, Brad went fishing, reminiscing about the times they shared. Over time, the pain began to fade. He had a new family now, one that he was sure would never betray him. Then, out of the blue, he received a call from the past. Anna, his ex-wife's sister, wanted to talk. Brad, hello, she said, her voice hesitant. I'm sorry to bother you. Your sister gave me your number. What do you want? Brad asked, irritation creeping into his tone. Your family didn't want to know me for years. Just listen, Anna urged. Sophie is gone. And how does that concern me? Brad replied coldly. We've been divorced for years. I'm not even Tom's father anymore. That's just it. He has no one left but me. John went broke and left them. He hasn't even been paying child support. Sophie regretted everything. She wished she hadn't pushed you away and deprived you of your parental rights. At least you were providing for Tom. What do you want from me? Brad asked, his patience thinning. Tom wants to see you, Anna said softly. No, that won't happen, Brad snapped. I barely climbed out of the hole your sister and her John put me in. Tom wanted another father, and he got one. I have 2 sons now. That's enough for me. What are you talking about? He's your blood, a wonderful boy who's been traumatized by his mother's loss, Anna insisted. How old is that wonderful boy? Over 20, I guess. At that age, I was taking responsibility for my family. This conversation is pointless, Anna. Brad hung up the phone, feeling a mix of relief and anger. That same evening, Tom showed up at his door, seemingly confident he would be welcomed. Instead, Brad simply shut the door in his face. Later, he shared the entire story with Lena. She listened intently before asking, I understand you might still be hurting, but why don't you want to talk to him? What do you have to lose? Legally, you're not even related. He can't claim anything. This won't harm our boys at all. Lena, I don't know. He did the same thing to me back then. It feels like a betrayal, and I just can't forgive him, Brad replied. Maybe that's not the right way to think, but that's how I feel. And what if he comes back again? Lena asked. What will we do then? Brad fell silent. He realized that allowing Tom back into his life could be a colossal mistake. They hadn't spoken in years, yet a part of him still yearned to reconnect with his son. A week later, Tom showed up at his workplace. Hey, when's your lunch break? Maybe we should talk after all, he suggested uncertainly, glancing around the empty showroom. These cars are amazing. Do you sell them? Do you have test drives? Are you looking to buy one? Brad chuckled. Hold on, I'll ask for some time off. We don't have set lunch breaks here. We go when we're hungry or when we need to. He asked his colleague to cover for him in the showroom and stepped outside with Tom. To Brad's amusement, his son was a head taller than him, and it felt odd yet comforting. They grabbed some takeout and settled at a table in a nearby cafe. Dad, I know you're angry, Tom began. I was a stupid kid, wanting to live like everyone else. John seemed so much cooler than you, and your mother always compared you to. It was like having a constant commercial playing in my head. I get that it's not your fault, Brad replied, but it doesn't lessen my anger. So, what do you propose? Tom asked. Legally, I'm nobody to you. I don't want to claim the place of your son, though I would love to meet my brothers. It's kind of funny to find out I'm not alone after all. What are their names? Sam and Alex. I adopted the older one, Brad said. They talked for a long time, covering so much ground. Eventually, they parted ways, Brad returning to work while Tom went about his day. That weekend, they met again for a fishing trip, where Tom met his younger brother for the first time. Gradually, the ice in their relationship began to thaw. Brad realized how much he had missed connecting with his son all those years, and Tom easily bonded with Lena and his brothers. As time went on, Tom announced he was getting married, and he extended invitations for his wedding to the whole family.